Hello. It's time to talk about books again. Wow, that's every video. Okay, no. I decided that since last year I made a video talking about the books that I got in 2022. Nope, that's not right. The books I got in 2021. Jesus, there were 14 of them. I thought I'd do it again for the books that I got in 2022. For real this time, 2022. And then I looked at the list and there are 6. Incredible, I know. I amaze myself. Yeah, listen, I just really love libraries. The library is wonderful because it is free. And I pay property taxes anyway, so like, let's take advantage of one of the things I'm getting from that I actually kind of like. I'm like, this is a great thing that I love. Thank you, government. The public library, unsurpassed, best thing that the government has ever put together. So I only got 6 books last year. Okay. I bought most of them. One of them was a Christmas present. And so I guess we'll get into it. This is not gonna take long. Okay, so first, I went to Barnes & Noble back in, I don't know, the first half of last year, early in the year, sometime in the winter, possibly in January or February. And I had, I must have had, my memory is just not it. I don't think I had a Barnes & Noble gift card, but I think I might have had some sort of Visa gift card or something, and I was like, I'm gonna spend it on books, obviously, like it was a Christmas present, So I got 2 books. One of them was Mycroft and Sherlock, The Empty Birdcage by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Anna Waterhouse. This I read pretty quickly after getting it. So this is just sort of, several years ago I got the first 2 books of this series, but I didn't get the third because they didn't have a paperback version. They just had hardcover because I think it had just come out. So, saw a paperback and was like, I'm gonna get this book. And I really enjoyed it, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, for some reason, it is just a smidge shorter than the other 2. I don't understand it. I don't know why they're not all the same size. But it's like a centimeter shorter or something. It's weird. But yay, I have a bright yellow book now. Some of the shiny on these letters is wearing off, which all it does is sit on the bookcase, so I don't know how that's happening. But the other book I bought. Okay, the other book, where should I put this? All right, the other book I bought is Dune by Frank Herbert. So, I have read Dune. I have just not read this copy, so at some point I've got to, because I really wanted to reread it, you see. I think it was last summer. It might have been 2021. I just genuinely can't remember when things happen sometimes. But my friend Jane and I got on Discord and we synced up like our computer DVD players and as best we could, and we watched Dune together, as in the David Lynch Dune. That movie is fucking bonkers, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I'm not saying it was really good. It made some choices where I was like, why would you do this though? But it was incredibly entertaining. It was just flat out insane. And I decided I have got to reread that book because it's been a long time. I never read any of the sequels. I wasn't really interested in that. I don't know if I will change my mind after rereading it. Probably not. Also, there's this absolutely gorgeous hardcover edition that has this like, it has this like blue and yellow cover with like the image of the man standing like pretty large on it. It's a beautiful cover. I thought about getting that one, but I am cheap and it was like 40 bucks. So I was like, you know what? This is like, I don't know, half that much probably. And also a gorgeous cover. And this cover makes me think of Lawrence of Arabia because I'm a basic bitch. Do basic bitches like Lawrence of Arabia? I don't know, probably not. Just because like he's all in white and he's on the sand dunes. That's literally it. But it's a lovely cover. Anyway, whatever. I need to reread this pretty soon. So there was that. Then later in the year, I was looking I was looking at my list of books I wanted to read, my 20 books, which I succeeded in reading. I'm very proud of myself, but I was looking at that list and going, okay, so these are the ones I still need to read. Let's see what's at the library. And one of them was not. So I decided I was gonna have to buy it. And I found a cheap copy on Amazon, I think, with this insane cover. So Bad Voltage by Jonathan Little. I'm not really recommending this book. It's cyberpunk, it's weird. The cover is, I suppose, the main character, Lynx, but this isn't what he looks like at all. For one thing, in the book he's described as having dreadlocks and braids. Also, he's not white. But regardless, this cover is insane. Just, oh God, stupid sun. It's not even sunny. Just the sky is reflecting. But just behold. So I was like, I gotta get this book. So obviously I'm gonna get the cover that's rad, right? So I did, and I don't regret it, but also I don't know how long I'm like, should I keep this though? I should probably do a cleaning out of my shelves at some point soonish, and this might go just because, like, I'm never gonna read it again. But this cover, I don't know. Oh my God, he's got a little skull on his belt. Okay. And then, I also don't remember what time of year this was. Amazing. But later in the year, I went to Half Price Books because I thought to myself, I really want to reread The Expanse, and I would not say no to owning them. Well, it turns out Half Price Books doesn't have any of the books of The Expanse there. I even asked the person at the desk, and they were like, no. So I bought a couple of other things that, my eyes lit upon while I was at the store. One of them is this. Isaac Asimov Presents The Great SF Stories, Volume 16, Stories from 1954. So I've already read Volume 15 of this, and I have it, which was Stories from 1953. But to my, whenever I go to Half Price Books, I have to look at the sci-fi section, and I always have to see what they have by authors that I know I like, and Asimov is a great one to look up because there's always something. And because he edited a lot of these like anthologies, you can kind of hope to find one of those. So there were actually several, and I decided just to get this one. It's got stories from all sorts of men. Oh my God, why are they all men? 1954, the time when solar batteries and nuclear-powered submarines first became a reality. Awesome. Was also a year which saw the publication of the first 2 volumes of Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then some also Hal Clement's Mission of Gravity, don't know what that is, and Richard Matheson's I Am Legend. And this era, when what had long been predicted in science fiction was finally becoming science fact, signaled a truly golden period for the science fiction short story. Okay, anyway. So I'm gonna read this at some point. I will, just I'm slow. They look great. They look like they're gonna be fun. I don't know if I know any of these. Let me have a look. Because the 1953 one, I definitely recognized a few of them. That's it, okay. Well, I don't recognize any of these, but I swear these are all my men. What is happening? I am giving HL Gold a bit of a side eye because, initials. Wait, there's a Mildred. Oh my God, there's at least one storyteller that is not by a man. Congratulations, Mildred Klingerman. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just annoying. But this will be fun. This will be fun. So I got it. Let's move on. I also bought The Descent of Man by Charles Darwin. So listen, they had a couple of Darwin books, and I always look at the science books, and this just looked fun. It looked fun. I think this is a really pretty edition. And it's also just like, I don't know, it's like the right size. It's pleasing. I tried to read The Origin of Species like some years ago, back in college, I guess, and I didn't get very far. I think maybe I would get further now. When am I gonna read this? I do not know. Cause it's gonna kill me. It's just gonna kill me because it's so long. The text is so small. It's gonna be so complex. I mean, I fully understand, not fully understand, but like, I mean, I know more about the descent of man than Darwin did, but you know, this is him trying. This was a controversial work. I love this. Okay. In The Descent of Man, Darwin addresses many of the issues raised by his notorious Origin of Species, finding in the traits and instincts of animals the origins and mental abilities of humans, of language, of our social structures, and our moral capacities. He attempts to show that there is no clear dividing line between animals and humans. Most importantly, he accounts for what Victorians called the races of mankind by means of what he calls sexual selection. This book presents a full explanation of Darwin's ideas about sexual selection, including his belief that many important characteristics of human beings and animals have emerged in response to competition for mates. I mean, this should just be like really interesting. Like, people who don't think evolution happened think that people who do think evolution happened all are obsessed with Darwin and haven't moved beyond him. That's obviously not the case, and they're stupid for thinking that. But I do think it would be interesting to read what Darwin had to say and to kind of reflect on how some of the things he writes have been proven and other things are just kind of are incorrect. What are these monkeys doing? Anyway, so someday I'll read this, maybe, when I gotta get like really brave. Okay, and the final book is the one that I got for Christmas, and that is Going Clear: Scientology, Hollywood, and the Prison of Belief by Lawrence Wright. This book is going to be great. I've definitely heard of this one before. My sister got this for me and wants to read it as well. Also, I love this cover. It's so wacky. Look at it. So just physically as an object, this appeals to me. I'm very excited to read it. I know a lot about Scientology because I have watched shows and listened to podcasts about it. Oh God. Sorry. Oh my God, what is this? Hubbard tells himself he learned several important things. Okay, anyway, I need to stop reading this. But I'm actually gonna read this book like next. Like maybe I'm starting it tomorrow next. So that's exciting. So those are all of the books that I got in 2022. The very small stack, because like I just am not out here getting books all the time. That's not how I want to spend my money. But also, like, where would I put them? I don't have a lot of space. Now, I want to talk about my reading stats because, you know, while we're here, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail. Sorry, somebody's driving past. Just super quick, I read 69 books, nice, and 34 of them were by men, 34 of them were by women, and 3 were by non-binary authors. So I'm like, wow, I did it, it's equal, amazing. Proud of myself, okay? I hit a lot of decades. I was, let's see, let's go through them. I read one book that was written before 1900. I read 7 books from the 50s, 3 from the 70s, yeah, 0 from the 60s, very weird. 3 from the 70s, 6 from the 80s, 6 from the 90s, 6 from the 2000s, 23 from the 2010s, and 17 from the 2020s. So as usual, I kind of try to read older books. It's a lot better than last year when I read like half the books I read. This is 2021. Look at this spread, this is insane. It's not that good, but I did have a lot of older books, and then everything here's even pretty much, and then there's the 2010s, which are just insane. But then 2022, it's a lot different. Like there's much less over here, but this is more even, and then these are bigger, except for the 60s. So who knows what'll happen this year? Let's see, we had 17 nonfiction, 21 sci-fi, 10 fantasy, 13 mystery thriller, 3 historical fiction, 3 classics, and 2 other. Whatever, that just means I didn't know where to put them. 28 books with queer characters. 40 of these authors were new to me, 21 of them I had read before, and 14 of them were authors of color, which is a fairly small percentage, but it's better than I did in 2021. Okay, quick stats. The longest book I read last year was The Pillars of the Earth at 976 pages. The shortest was The Final Solution by Michael Chabon, which was 131 pages. The oldest was Frankenstein from 1818. My favorite nonfiction book was The Silk Roads by Peter Frankopan, and my favorite fiction book was The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. And that's really the gang, isn't it? Now, the other thing, I want to talk about my list. Me list. In 2022, I had a list of 20 books, and I actually read them all. I'm very proud of myself. So in 2023, I have a new list. I'm gonna go through them just super quick. These are the books that I hope to read this year, and that's like the goal. Curiosity by Philip Ball, which is a nonfiction about science, and it's on this because it is the book that has been on the Goodreads TBR the longest. Gallic Wars by Julius Caesar, which is a book that he wrote about his time fighting in Gaul. I'm not sure if they're like diaries or if he actually sat down and wrote a book. Like, I don't really know that much about it, but I have a copy that I rescued from my parents' basement years ago, so I want to read it. The Plutonium Files by Eileen Wellsome, which, I forget what it's about. It sounds super interesting. It's nonfiction. I actually wrote these so that all the nonfiction are in at the beginning of this list. But it is I think it's about some medical experiments. Bad Gays by Hugh Lemmey and Ben Miller, which is about queer people in history who were villains. I don't know who, but I'm so excited. Going Clear by Lawrence Wright, which I just talked about. American Moonshot by Douglas Brinkley, which is a book that I got for Christmas from my parents in 2021. And I need to read it. But like, it's kind of random. It's about JFK and the American space program. I'm not sure how long you can keep those two things tied together, because eventually he dies. And we don't go to the moon until 1969. So, Crime of the Century by Hal Higdon. This is another book I rescued from my parents' house. It's about the Leopold and Loeb murder in Hyde Park, Chicago, in the 20s. And I think it was written in the 70s, so we'll see how that holds up. Foundation's Edge by Isaac Asimov, which is the next book in the Foundation series. Kindred by Octavia Butler. So I've never read any Octavia Butler, so I'm a fake sci-fi fan. And Kindred at least is a standalone, I think. So I'm gonna read it, and it's probably gonna be really sad and fucked up. Station Eternity by Mur Lafferty, which I think just like it's a pretty new sci-fi book. I think it's like there's a murder mystery on a space station. I was like, okay, I love space stations, give it to me. Voyage to the City of the Dead by Alan Dean Foster is a slim little sci-fi book I bought just because the cover was cool looking. And like, I need to read some of the books I bought just because the covers were cool looking. Down Below Station by C.J. Cherry. It won the Hugo, and I don't know what it's about, but it sounds like it's got a station in it. And of course it's sci-fi. The Hidden Girl and Other Stories by Ken Liu. This is a book I've been saying I'm gonna read for years, so I'm finally like, fuck it, put it on the list, actually read it. But I read his other short story collection, The Paper Menagerie, and it was really great, so I have high hopes. This next one is gonna kill me, but Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I don't know. I don't know why, but I wanna read it. I wanna know. Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I've never read any Virginia Woolf, but I wanna read this because like, It's about a guy who wakes up one day, discovers that he has turned into a woman, and also he's immortal. That's all I know about it. Also, there's a movie, and ooh, who plays Orlando? Is it Tilda Swinton? I'm not sure. I might be wrong. I'll need to look that up later. Okay, The Emissary by Yoko Tawada, which, like, I don't really remember what that's about, but I was interested in it at some point, and I was like looking at my Goodreads TBR list, and I was like, you know what, here's something that's been on here for a while. I think it's translated from Japanese, I know that, and I think it's like everybody past a certain age what is it? Are they immortal or something? I don't know, something weird happened. We'll see. We'll see. Kaikei by Vaishnavi Patel, which is a retelling of some Hindu mythology that I am, oh god, stop kicking that I am not familiar with, but I think that it's I've heard it described as kind of similar to Madeline Miller's Circe, which I also haven't read, but like basically a sort of more villainous woman character, but it's from her perspective. Also, I've heard that she's asexual, which is why it's on this list, basically. I think it's an adult novel. I really hope it's an adult novel. Alatsue by Darcy Little Badger. Now this one I think is young adult. And it's also my asexual representation, like, on the list. Gotta have some. I think it's got magic in it too. I don't know that much about it. Let Me Go by Chelsea Kane, which is the final book about Archie Sheridan and Gretchen Lowell. Every time my brain supplies Gretchen Wieners, and I'm like, you know that's not right, so don't say it. Yeah, Gretchen Lowell, who is this serial killer, and like it's this whole drama thing, but like this is the last book of the series, so I'm gonna have to let it go, as it were, and find something else for next year. Ooh. And finally, Murder on the Red River by Marcy Rendon, which I got from a list of, it was like on Crime Reads, which is a great website, to check it out. But it's like a list of books that you can read just in an afternoon. So it'll be short, and I like to take something off of that list each year. What it's about, I don't know, Murder on the Red River, I'm guessing. But more than that, I cannot say. And anyway, it's gonna be an interesting year. I have lots of stuff to read. I definitely need to read books, more books that I own. I say this every year, and then I do some of it, but not enough. And now I need to put my books away. But there's only 6 of them, so it won't even take that long. I don't know, 6 is an awfully small number of new books to get in a year, I think, but I don't really have space. So I'm gonna have to get rid of some stuff if I wanna get more books this year. But also I probably won't get more books this year, because you know, I'm always like, the library exists though, and it's free. And what if I don't like the book? I don't want to spend $24 for something I won't even like. So it's fraught. I don't know how people do it. But yeah, I gotta put my books away. And you know what? This is gonna be a great year. I'm gonna try to make more videos, but God knows if I'll succeed. And I'll see you there.